sponsors. Our sponsors are really great. You can see QuickBooks and MasterCard there, but let me tell you a little bit about them. Startup Canada is brought to you by Intuit QuickBooks, Canada's leading provider of business, financial, and tax management solutions for the small and medium enterprises. And we can't forget MasterCard. Whether you need a card for purchases or need payment solutions to help you better manage and track your expenses, MasterCard is the right solution for your business.
So today's topic for Startup Live is bootstrapping basics. We are joined by two special guests. Our first guest is Pat Missot. Pat is the author for Stop Compromising, and she's located in southeastern Ontario. Pat works to unleash the potential of many entrepreneurs to expand their businesses. She's also part of Startup Chat every week that happens in Startup Canada as well. Our second guest is from Barrie, Ontario, is Chad Ballantyne. He's the creative director of Rhubarb Media for over 10 years, and he was also the director of Creative Spaces for the past 8 years. Chad's also the startup community lead for Startup Barrie. So welcome you both for today, and thank you for joining us.
Hey, happy to be here.
Welcome, everyone. And if you're tuning in on Facebook or on Twitter, make sure you use the hashtag Startup Live to ask any questions during the course of the broadcast. We'll make sure we get to all of your questions before we leave you today. So again, that's Startup Live hashtag to follow along and to ask us any questions.
So Pat, we will start with you with our first question. So you are a very known author and you have done a lot of things in your life. How did you get to where you are today?
I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version of my story because I'm old and I'm not going to give you the whole thing. But what is relevant to today's topic is the fact that a number of years ago, I walked out of my 22-year marriage in Edmonton and with virtually a trash bag full of a few things. I moved across the country here to London, Ontario, and I relaunched a coaching and speaking business at the age of 57. So I have become the poster child for, in particular, women entrepreneurs who perhaps are sitting back thinking it's too late, I can never do this. And so listen, I've done it for the last 8 years. I'm in my 8th year of the relaunch. And so I came here to London with nothing, no clients, no business, no database, no contacts, but I had a dream in my heart. I had the belief in myself. And quite frankly, I knew that I could make it happen. So that's really my story. And you had mentioned in the beginning, this book that I just finished writing 2 years ago, Stop Compromising and Make All the Money You Want, is really my story in a nutshell. The 7 steps I took to take my business 7 years ago from zero to just under $1 million in 6 years, and to take my personal life from that trash bag to travel now around the world 3 times in a private plane, and just working around the world on a whim. I was in Argentina for the whole month of December. I'm going to Australia for the whole month of October. So that in essence is my story. Bottom line is, if I can do it, anyone out there can do it.
That's amazing. Thank you.
That's amazing and inspirational. You're absolutely right. Chad, you're the creative director of not one but 2 companies, so that's pretty impressive. Can you tell us a little bit more about Rhubarb Media and the creative space, and how you work with each companies and what they offer to companies?
Yeah, sure. So Rhubarb Media is a design and web studio. We're in our 11th year. Started in my mother-in-law's basement. Longer story that won't be told here, but yeah, we've been doing this for 11 years. So our tagline is "Your story well told," because story is what moves our culture, and good stories motivate us to life change. And so that's what our goal is with our clients through creative and web. And so I'm the creative director. So my role is to set that tone of our brand and help it to be expressed through our clients' needs. Really to make sure that anything that goes out the door is creative, and we're 100% proud of it. The Creative Space is a co-working community in Barrie, downtown. We're in 6,200 square feet. We have about 50 plus member companies, startups, entrepreneurs, small business, and we're the downtown entrepreneurship hub. We provide everything you need to get work done, but it's really based around community. They're two different companies, very different entities. But the Rhubarb Media is a member of the Creative Space, and I also run the Creative Space, so I'm inside it. But my passion to help others do what makes them come alive is fulfilled in both roles. So my official title for the Creative Space is Tummler, Tummler, if you want to look it up. But it's a Yiddish term. It means one who incites others to action. And that's the best title I could find, because so many people are like, are you the manager, the director? Who are you? And I'm like, I'm the Tummler. Look it up. So.
Excellent, excellent.
So bootstrapping is known as the DIY of starting a business. What are the bootstrapping strategies that exist to basically maximize the gain from every dollar invested in any startup?
You're asking me?
Both of you.
Yeah, lead the way, Chad.
Okay, well, when I think of the word bootstrap, you do see DIY attached to it a lot of times. I actually think it's far from a DIY strategy. Bootstrapping is being frugal with your resources, but the best bootstrappers inspire and cheer on a community of support around their idea. So you're really not alone at all. The key strategy is to surround yourself with a community of care. And that's what we see in our startup community here, and it's the story of the Creative Space as well. We bootstrapped our way up in both these companies, but far from being by myself, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that, Chad, because, bootstrapping was absolutely the way I went when I first moved here back to London, because I had nothing. And so even to get a roof over my head and to be able to survive, that was the number one key. So my approach to the bootstrapping philosophy is around mindset, because being an entrepreneur is not easy. Being a business owner is not easy. There's no easy button. And so my approach was, what do I want and how bad do I want it? And then, like Chad said, yes, surround yourself with the right people, but I'll take it a step further. And this is something all business owners need to learn. And that is the skill and the practice of asking.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the people around you, but you've got to learn to ask for what you want. And that, again, needs to be backed up to identify, what do you want? What do you want? How bad do you want it? And then start asking and surrounding yourself with the right people.
And Pat, how would you recommend the making the art of the ask, or making that ask for entrepreneurs who are just starting out and they don't necessarily know where to go, who to ask, or what to ask for?
Yeah, and I hear that all the time, and I now coach entrepreneurs in the startup mode, and I do hear it and I coach them on it. The thing is, you've got to know what to ask, when to ask, and who to ask to succeed at this and to grow your business and to get people to invest in you and believe in you and support you, because this is an ongoing process. The thing I did, I'll tell you, there's a book that's my absolute favorite. It's almost like my business Bible, and it's called The Aladdin Factor by Jack Canfield. That book, it's a paperback, it's been around forever, and it has chapters in there about how to ask in any capacity in life. And that's where I started, right there. But I'll tell you the other piece around this. You don't need the technical skills or even the intellectual, educational knowledge. You just got to be hungry. When you're hungry enough and you go after what you want, you'll be asking.
That's awesome.
I just have a sort of a follow-up question to this. When people talk about bootstrapping, they always think about the initial phase of funding. But is bootstrapping something that's only at the initial phase, or is it sort of a mindset throughout the entire phases and the lifespan of a business?
Well, I'll jump in first on this one because, again, it comes from my state of hunger when I came here. I went to places like the credit union and the bank, and I had done coaching and speaking and everything before in my past. But when I moved to London, again, I was starting from zero. I had nothing. Nobody's going to talk to you when you have nothing. The banks aren't going to help you when you need the money. And so I would say you've got to look at creative ways. And also, again, it is an evolution, because new level, new devil in business. And you should always be investing in your business and keep it going and keep it growing. Take it away, Chad.
Yeah, I was thinking being frugal and leveraging what you have to make it work is ongoing exercise. I think the problem that we're experiencing is we live in a culture of, get financing scams or plans. Scams. Kids are sucked into credit card debt in high school. So we're constantly being taught, get money, ask for money, and I just think you can teach kids younger enough to, be frugal, ask questions, find the right community. We'd have sustainable companies that don't go through these struggles of, collapsing and getting in trouble or going to jail. So I think it's an ongoing practice that at every turn you need to look at your resources, the people around you, the stuff you have, bricks and mortar, and try and figure out how to, leverage everything so that you're not having to find yourself, in debt to somebody, or especially an institution.
And to bring that back to the mindset piece, Chad, I want to piggyback on that. You've got to learn to put your ego aside. You've really got to learn to be vulnerable and to be humble in the beginning of getting your business going, because it does take money to grow a business. It absolutely does. And so for those who have nothing and or very little, put the ego aside and, again, identify, put a plan together and learn, figure out what it is you want, and then go ask the right people. And then follow through. When you're asking for money and you're given that money, follow through on your commitment. Do the work. Be accountable. Celebrate the successes.
Now, for companies who are bootstrapping, I mean, that you definitely have limited resources, whether you're bootstrapping or you're just starting up. You don't get those millions right at the first go. But what are some things that you think that entrepreneurs should invest in, and what are some things that you think they should stay away from at the very beginning?
I mean, the first thing we tell this to startups all the time: ask for advice, not money, at least to start with. Advice is actually worth more. So it's a mindset, like Pat's saying, but it's really important to challenge the mindset that your first thing isn't to go after money. Yes, you do need the money, you need the capital up front, and you need it soon, always. But you'll be surprised how those funds can come in through mentorship and asking advice and growing your community. You actually might find out that you don't need 200,000, you only need 50. And that's only going to come from people who've been there and done that. So right off the bat, I would say, even though it is about money, and we talk about bootstrapping and money all the time, but I think it's about ask for advice, not money. It's worth more.
Yeah, and so the steps I took, I mean, I agree with everything Chad said. Now, I'm in the service industry, so I am a business coach and a professional speaker. And so in the service industry, I'm not walking around selling widgets or anything tangible to people. And so what I did to get started, now remember, I was 57, and so time is of the essence. And one thing I knew for sure is that I was an expert in my field, and mindset is my area of expertise, and marketing and money. While I know my stuff, what I did not know for sure, and as you can appreciate, 7 years ago, social media was just really exploding. And so I knew what I didn't know, which was how to market myself. And that's a key for getting off the ground floor with a new business. And so the first thing I did was scramble and put some money together and did my homework. And I hired a high-level millionaire marketing coach out of New York. It was the first thing I did because I recognized I needed that help. I needed it fast. And so I hired her, which caused me then to be in the game and make the decision that I needed to get off my butt and out the door to go sell, to make things happen, to pay my coach. And then the first thing she told me to do, and I told her, I said, just tell me what to do. I'm listening. And she said the first thing was to hire a virtual assistant. Because where new business owners get caught up in the beginning is that you're it. Like, you are the business, you're doing everything, and you'll get caught up in administrivia, which is not revenue generating. And so she said, you hire a virtual assistant 5 hours a month, and then figure out how to pay her too. You go sell and let that person do the administrivia for the equivalent of $20 an hour. So those two things that I did, hire a coach, a successful coach, someone who's walked in my footsteps, who's ahead of me, and hire an assistant. Those I call two of my biggest success strategies.
So
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'll ask afterwards.
Well, I was just going to say the idea of spending money to make money is true. We went for years doing it ourselves, like bookkeeping and account management, and it wasn't until we decided, things were not always going smoothly. So just hiring a bookkeeper part-time with Rhubarb Media, we found money that was not there, following up with clients. And so part of, raising money or finding that foundation when you're a startup is don't be afraid to partner. So maybe hire a coach to begin with, and then hire those things that you're just not good at. Like, the old adage was, you always work on your weaknesses. And I totally disagree. I think we need to build on our strengths. And if you're weak in some area, we at the Creative Space call it insourcing, because the people around us are right in our space. So we insource to those people, and it's just making all our companies much more stronger if you can leverage the strengths of others and manage your weaknesses. Don't work on them. Work on your strengths.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Chad, because the third hire that I did, the coach first, the virtual assistant second, was a bookkeeper, because I needed someone, first of all, to help me know and understand my numbers. It's not my strength. It's not my education. It's not my background. And when you're a business owner, it's about the numbers. It's about the cash flow. It's about profit and loss statements. So I hired a bookkeeper. Now, here was another tip I give my clients. Hire a bookkeeper who is really entrepreneurially minded. There are many out there in the industry who are very risk avoidant. Well, that's not in alignment with being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So my bookkeeper is very young, dynamic, entrepreneurially minded, and he guides me. We meet every month, so I know my numbers, I know where I'm going, I know the story of the numbers, I know what's working, what's not working. So that's a great tip there, Chad.
I think everyone on social media should just give a big shout out to your bookkeepers right now. So Joelle, you're awesome.
Yeah, hey, Robert Hill, absolutely the best. Phenomenal.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So there are different type of startups, and many of them require lots of capital to actually start, and other of them require less capital. And many of them require larger teams, and some of them work on a smaller team. So how do you convey that mindset of bootstrapping if you have a large team at startup?
I don't think it's any different. I think you follow the same steps. It's just in a different proportion.
That's great. That's great. Now,
I agree.
We were talking a lot about surrounding yourself with the right people and insourcing and really creating a community around your business. What type of people should entrepreneurs surround themselves with? We talked about making sure you have your bookkeeper, your assistants, and you have people to do the things that are not your strengths. So who else do we want to put in that circle?
Well, the way I coach my clients on this is based on something that I do and I've done for many years. I have 3 circles of 5. So my one circle of 5 is what I call my financial board of directors. They don't know that they are that, but I call them that. You've got to have a financial board of directors. So that's my business coach, my bookkeeper, my accountant, my account executive, and financial planner. So I work with them when I create my plan for every 6 months with my coach. Then I go meet with my financial planner. Then we meet with the bookkeeper and we lay everything out. So that group of 5 is critical. And listen, if any one of them are not meeting your needs or supporting you, fire them. It's your business. Fire them and get somebody else based on referrals. The second group of 5 are the entrepreneurs I surround myself with, because I am constantly looking to grow and evolve and become my best self. I have two coaches. I have a business coach and a speaking coach, because those are my two streams of business. And so I'm always looking to up level, which means that the circle I'm in a business mastermind, a high level mastermind. The circle I'm in always also needs to be up leveled, because who got you here won't get you there. And what got you here won't get you there. So that's constantly evolving. And then my last circle of 5 is a virtual vision board that I create. And I put a circle of 5 on there of very high level people who inspire me from afar, who I set the intention that I am going to meet and I am going to be with. For example, last year I set the intention of getting into a live taping of one of Oprah's Super Soul Sunday sessions. Check, was there last June. So in my approach to things, I'm 65 now and I'm still up leveling. It's got to be those 3 circles of 5, and you don't stick with them forever. Some of them have to go at some point.
Okay, Chad, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, diversify the people around you and be with people that you can do life with. Like, if you just don't want that negative energy, and I guess that's why I'm such a big fan of co-working spaces, because it's membership based. You know that the people that are coming in, you can trust them. You can trust them to watch your back, but also to be offer critique, and you can trust that, so they can tell you that your logo sucks or something is off, and you believe them because you trust them and they're part of your tribe.
Yeah.
But also to not be afraid of competition, and that's another beautiful thing about a lot of co-working spaces. It's not an exclusive club where one type of company is in there and nobody else can come in. We have multiple. We would call them competition, but it's co-opetition that happens. And so I would reach out to not just the people that are right close to you or that are in your industry, but talk to your competition and just other people that are on the peripheral of what you do. You're going to learn from anyone, so don't try and just kind of us for no more, close the door kind of mentality. So I would say, if you're not in a co-working space, number one, get in one. If you're a solopreneur, but also if you're just in that community, find those people that are diverse, that you can trust, and that you can trust that they'll tell you the hard stuff too. Like, we need to be kept accountable. Entrepreneurs we're a weird bunch, we're overly prideful and hugely emotional, especially in the creative industry. We need people that will ask the hard questions and keep us accountable, and so I think that's an important thing for us, and we see that in the creative space.
Yeah, and the piece I would add to that too is you've got to have a life. So make sure you've got some good friends around you too, and that you schedule playtime. Chad, that's right up your alley, I'm sure. You've got to schedule some playtime, because you cannot work all the time, and that is the
really
really. And I'll tell you, Chad,
this, so.
I'll tell you, the older you get, the more you appreciate that, because people in my circle now they're dying. They've got cancer, they've got critical illness, there's heart failure, stroke, overweight, stress, all of that's happening around me. You've got to get out there and play. And one of the reasons I hustled back in here to get ready, I had just been at a yoga class. And so self-care is critical. And you've got to develop those habits right at the get-go. Right at the get-go. Self-care, fun, friends.
Totally. And I think, the other awesome part of our lives is our family. And I think it's critical that your family is with you in this adventure, but that you're making sure that family is first. And I forget that a lot of times. You need to be at your kids' events. You need to be, at home in the moment. And the awesome thing about my relationship with my wife and kids, Sandra is co-owner of both businesses, and we work together, we live together, and it's a good thing. But I think we do need to keep each other accountable within our businesses, to not just talk about business, but like you said, Pat, there's health and there's family. and to ask the questions, not like, hey, how's business going, but like how's life, right? And how's your kids? And so having those relationships around you, to get back to the question, those are the important people that you want in your life. Everybody else you could ignore.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm going to give you 2 tips based on wise people around me. And one was my mother. That's one of the reasons I moved east. I'd been estranged from my mother for 10 years. When I left my marriage, she reconnected with me. She didn't like my husband. And so we reconnected. And she was 89 when she died. And she said to me, always remember, because I was working hard when I moved here to build this business. And she said, listen, Patricia, she said, it's not going to be your bank account executive who's in this small room with you at the end. So you need to remember your friends and your family.
Exactly.
That's number 1 priority. Second tip, this will be helpful to you, Chad, is from Larry Wingett, my speaking coach. Larry and his wife is his admin assistant, and they have a home office like I do. And so they have a rule. And I pay attention to this rule, even though I'm single. But they said when they're in the kitchen, and a question comes up and it's about business, they will stop and look at each other and go, your office or mine? Take it to the office. Any of the home space is about family and fun and friends. Powerful tip.
That makes really, really, really good sense.
He's a smart man.
Awesome. So if you have any questions for our guests today, go ahead and ask them on the hashtag at Startup Live. So it's hashtag Startup Live. I think we have a couple of questions already on there. If we can put one up on the screen. Here we go. Chad, you ask for advice, not dollars. When is it too early to ask for funding in dollars?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think there's a perfect time frame. I'm big on building relationships first, so I don't want to ask for anything too early for anything. So I think it's when the relationship is at a point where you're there. I'd love if you just ask for advice. I think the money thing's going to come up, especially if you're a startup. Oftentimes the mentor or person you're asking brings it up. So I'm not sure I would say make sure your relationship is solid first before you just start asking for cash. Again, the big thing is asking for advice is one thing, but you have to have an epic story that person wants to join you in. So that's going to take time for you to express that story and help them see how they can fit into it, as opposed to, hey, can you lend me some money so that I can do my thing? So if you are asking for cash investment, I would want to be asking from someone who's going to be like part of my story and that they can see themselves in that, and we can join in their epic story as well. So it's a little bit of a relational kind of perspective for me.
Okay.
And I think we have a second question. Pat, who was your social media coach?
Oh, I don't have a social media coach. I have a social media assistant, but I have a business coach. And so that business coach, we talk about all aspects of growing my business, which includes, under the umbrella of marketing, social media and strategies and so on.
I do have a question for the both of you. In your opinion, when does a startup stop being a startup and it's a business? Like at what phase would you say it's a no longer startup, it is a well-established business?
No, but here's the thing. If you're growing and evolving, you're a startup at different levels. Like I said, new level, new devil. When you get to a new level, when I started up here, I was a startup. But then when I hit the 6-figure mark, and as I said, what got you here won't get you there. I was at startup mode again because everything needed to be reviewed and assessed and reconfigured and thrown out and brought in. And then when we hit the multiple 6 figures, again, I'm in a startup mode, if you will. So it doesn't go away. It just depends where you're at in the growth of your business.
Yeah, I think it's a good mentality as well to have that mindset of I haven't arrived. So if you constantly have that, you're the one that's always digging, being frugal, asking for advice. If you get to a point where you're like made it, I think you can get a little complacent, and that can really hurt you. So if you always be hungry, always be the learner, always be looking for ways to improve and impress, and that's like startup all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for Chad. I mean, we hear the notion of a creative director, and it sounds very glamorous and very fun. But maybe you can explain what a creative director actually does. And you're not only the creative director, but also the CEO of your business. So maybe you can explain how you balance those two roles.
So, so I'm the owner of Rhubarb Media, creative director. My role is really to create the brand of Rhubarb Media. Like I said, our tag is "Your Story Well Told." We're known for very minimalist design, high quality creative. We're highly relational. I mean, my goal is really to help my team emulate that brand in everything we do. As a creative director purely, I mean, I look at everyone's work and just make sure that I'm happy with it when it goes out the door. I know every client in a unique way that I will be moving pixels and colors and shapes around because I know that the client will appreciate that. So it's my role to make sure that every pixel is perfect, and that's fun. But I mean, ultimately, I'm a mentor, I'm a coach on my team, so I have to balance, productivity and working on production with, team development. And I really want to see my team own their work and be happy about it. If we're producing anything on social media, I try to tag, the lead on the team and just say, hey, yeah, this is a Rhubarb Media project, but hey, awesome work, Dan, Mario, Joel, whoever. And that's just an important part of my role as a leader. There's lots of different role requirements for creative director. I try and hand off, like I said, work on my strengths. And so I'm always looking for ways to push those over to someone who does it way better than I do.
Are there any good sources or resources that entrepreneurs can approach when they're trying to save money and time when they're launching a business?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think there's a number of them, but if you're connected in your community, your municipality, your city, town, there's some amazing resources. Barrie has an awesome ecosystem here. So our small business center, you might call it an enterprise center in your town, is amazing. And they have great free resources. They can direct you places. Our Invest Barrie, which is kind of like our economic development umbrella for Barrie, great resources, great programs. Again, a lot of times it's free stuff. We have our college, Henry Bernick Entrepreneurship Center, mentorship classes, workshops, things that you can get for free. There's grants and funding out there. So before you go after the money, just connect with your local community. If you have a co-working space, they're probably a good hub for those resources. But find out there's a lot of stuff out there that you don't have to pay for outright, at least at the beginning.
Yeah, and I want to add a cautionary note to all of that. And I see this all the time with entrepreneurs and business owners coming to me looking for coaching. There is a ton of free stuff out there. And there's, whether it's in an actual brick and mortar building and or online. And I absolutely encourage people to go after what is in alignment with their goals and so on. Where I see people mess up and end up disappearing is that they get into a habit of looking for everything free, and they're not thinking as a business owner and investing in themselves and in their business. And so I will say what I know for sure from my own experience and how I coach my clients is that you will also save money and save yourself by investing in a business coach and having that bookkeeper that I talked about, because they see things. I can save my clients a ton of money from making stupid mistakes, from reinventing the wheel, from investing in things that make no sense, because they have all this free stuff, but there's no plan and there's no accountability and guidance to move them through the use and the implementation of the free stuff.
Yeah, and you can save a lot of money, and I'm a big advocate for co-working, obviously, but if find a co-working space. If you're a solopreneur, you don't need to go out and rent an office space, 500,000 square feet.
Yeah.
You can save a lot of money, but you're also going to be surrounded by a community of care and resource and insourcing opportunities. So if you want to be frugal about your startup costs the first year or two, I would say join a co-working space.
I totally agree on that.
Commercial.
Also, from the aspect that being a solopreneur is lonely. It's
Yeah.
a lonely thing, and your family and friends don't have a clue what you do,
Yeah.
nor at times can you even articulate what you're doing. It's lonely, and you feel
Yeah.
isolated, and that is one of the downfalls of many startups. Because they feel isolated, because they feel lonely, they pack it in. It's hard.
Yeah, yeah. Working alone sucks for sure.
Yeah.
We have another phrase we use. Work for yourself, but not by yourself.
Yeah.
And I think no matter where you're at, if you have a home office or other office, make sure you're still within a community of people that are going to cheer you on, and you're going to cheer them on.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it happens awesome in a space like ours. So.
And I think also, Chad, you may agree with this, that people who are starting up, here comes ego again. I need to have my own space with my name on the door and my shingle outside. This is ego. You've really got to stop and assess, what do you really need to start up and start getting some wins and successes under your belt. And a co-share is a brilliant way to go.
Yep, agree.
That's great. That's great. Pat, you were mentioning the concept of a mastermind. Now, I know that for me personally, that's worked amazing for me. I've had a great experiences with it. But maybe you can share with the folks who are watching today what a mastermind is and what people, and especially entrepreneurs, can hope to get out of it.
Oh, thank you for asking that question, because seriously, there are so many misconceptions about a mastermind, and there are people who've had so many bad experiences with a mastermind. I'm going to share with you my definition and my experience in a successful mastermind. And so it really is a coming together of like-minded business owners. And when I say like-minded, I don't mean like industry. I mean like-minded. High achievers in the game, really serious about growing a business and knowing your numbers and all the things that go with it. In my first mastermind, there was a videographer, a photographer, a virtual assistant, a life coach, a health coach. Just a wide range. But here's the thing. You need a leader in the mastermind. I see a lot of people going for coffee meetings and lunch meetings. Yeah, we're masterminding. No, you're not. You're having coffee. If you're serious about growing your business, get in a group with high-level thinking and achieving individuals. And for me, I've upgraded mine all the time, because if I'm the smartest one in the room, I'm in the wrong room. I'm going to repeat that. If I'm the smartest one in the room, I'm in the wrong room. I want to up-level and grow and stretch and risk and be taken out of my comfort zone. And I want the diversity of industry in there as well. I pay big bucks to be in my high-level masterminds. And so it is led by my business coach, who is a multi-million-dollar business owner. You want somebody at the helm who knows the deal and who knows how to run a successful mastermind meeting. And it's my responsibility as a member to commit, participate, be engaged, and learn.
How do you approach mentors? Because you both talked about having mentors and coaches. How do you find the best mentor in your network to actually go and approach to become your do you just go to them and let them know, like, can you be my mentor? Or is there a sort of a formal or informal process of mentorship?
Well, there's got to be a clear definition and understanding of mentor and coach. A mentor is someone who inspires you, who will encourage you and support you, and that is more like a high-level accountability buddy. And a business coach, that's a business proposition. You're paying for that guidance, that information, and that support. So when people call me, and I'm a business coach, and say, could we have coffee so I could pick your brain? And the answer is no. I've paid thousands of dollars for what's in my brain, and if you want some of it, and we're in alignment, you can pay me and I'll coach you. For mentors, and yes, I have mentors, my philosophy goes back to what you said, Chad, is that you've got to give and support first. You don't just go to the trough and start taking. And so I've been asked to mentor. I've mentored in the women's prison in Edmonton when it first opened, and in all kinds of capacities. So you give and then you receive. So I don't mind being asked to mentor, and I do have mentors, but I give first. And I support first. It might be supporting their charity. It might be supporting their business or promoting their books or what have you. Show an interest in first. And Chad has already said that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Agreed.
That's great. We've got a couple of Twitter questions, so if we can throw one up on the screen. question is, what should the minimum viable product look like before going to Bootstrap? And I think this is a really good question to talk about. What is the criteria of an MVP, and when do you seek funding?
Yeah, that's another toughie. I think if you have enough people that are willing to pay for what you're doing, and you can project that into a recent future of profitability, then you have an MVP. But that takes some research, and you have to really find out from the demographic, or maybe there's another demographic you're not looking at. But you need to know the maximum number of people that will pay for this, that will actually make you a profit, and that becomes the MVP. All kinds of ways to do that through research, and whatnot. You could join an accelerator, incubator, and help them run you through the process. But the bottom line is, are people going to pay for your thing?
Yeah. No, I'm sure Kevin O'Leary would have given the same answer, Chad. Yeah. Do people want it, and will they pay for it?
Yeah, and it's hard to say when that is. I'm not an expert in what would be traditional incubation acceleration. We do a lot of stuff just along the way here, and it works. There's a gut feeling when you know stuff, but I do think with a little bit of research, you're going to be able to find out if that product is wanted and how much people are going to pay for it, and you can project that out to profitability.
I think we have a second question as well. What other aspects of my business should I be hiring for? How much should I DIY?
I'm going to give you my simple answer.
Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
Okay,
ahead,
well,
Pat.
I have a simple answer, and I tell people what you should be doing is two things, and it should be focused on revenue generation. You should be attracting clients or customers and then serving those clients and customers. Everything else should be outsourced and delegated, everything else. And so I have my clients every Friday make a to-do list, and on that to-do list, they need to get everything out of their head, create that to-do list, and then look at each item and mark, is this a revenue generating, in other words, an R, or is this a non-revenue generating, which would be an NR? And they, at the end of the list, they need to outsource and delegate anything that is non-revenue generating. You need to be out growing the business.
Yeah. Yeah, do what you do best and outsource the rest. Or insource. You're in a co-working space.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that quote. If anyone has any additional questions, you can go ahead and send them to us on Twitter at the hashtag called StartupLive. We're still taking a couple of questions, but I wanted to ask the guests today, what are the fundamental messages that you want to leave with the viewers about bootstrapping versus going to funding versus doing it yourself? When do you choose which? Do you have any advice along those areas?
Well, I would say in the very beginning, and I'm going back to my first few days and weeks here, again, you've got to know what you want, how bad you want it, what you're prepared to do to make it happen. And making it happen, having a business, again, it goes back to what Chad said, is there a need and a want in the market, and will people pay for it? So from that point then, once you've identified that, then you're in the game. Put both feet in the game and commit to it. So I'm just going to give you a few examples. When I did move here, Edmonton, where I lived, is very well known for their whole recycling and environmental approach to things. And when I moved here, I had very little, and I have learned in London, I'm not sure in your communities, but in London, on garbage day, oh my God, you can pick up everything and the kitchen sink. So when I got my house, I was able to furnish it for the most part from the curbside. And so that goes back to putting your ego aside and doing what it takes. The other thing that I learned was I kept my eyes and ears open. In the beginning, I got a mortgage through a mortgage broker, and then I saw that there was a big national bank in the city that said, move your mortgage over to us and we'll put $2,000 in your account. I went, I'm in. No loyalty there. I'll take the $2,000. Thank you very much. But also in the first year, when I came and I held out my shingle, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker, you will come, They did not. It was me and Ben and Jerry. It was very lonely and very hard, and I didn't make any money. So I took a job. And this is hard for some startups to hear, but I coach my clients on this. Get a job, part-time or full-time, and make that your bank loan. Shift your thinking. It's not a failure. It's not a kick to your self-esteem. Swallow your pride, get the job, get some cash flowing, and then keep growing your business at the same time, because if and when you really want that business, you'll do whatever it takes. So I took that job for a year just so I could get back on my feet financially and feel some sense of self-worth and get back in the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, we said it all along here, is don't do it alone. Don't sell your soul or to debt or investment too soon.
Yeah.
There's ways of doing that. Yeah, you can. We have a project here called Small Office, and we do an incubation project for 6 months, and it's a community launch company. They're surrounded by 32 community sponsors. 95% of them are private sector companies. It's amazing when you can surround yourself with a community of care, what you can get done, and opportunity for funding will be there. But again, this is an opportunity to surround yourself with a community of care, advice, and just watch what happens. So I think it kind of goes back to the quote again: ask for advice, not money. It's worth more. I really feel like so many entrepreneurs try and do it yourself too hardcore, and they miss out on what's surrounding them. You know, the community of support, the competition that's there, the amazing advice that's around them, and the funding that could be around the corner or being offered through some grant or whatever. You don't know, and if you don't ask. So get into community. Relationships are it. I'm kind of kumbaya that way. Sorry.
I'm kumbaya with you, and nobody has ever called me kumbaya. I'm just like, tell it like it is coaching. But I will say this, startups need to understand there's good debt and bad debt. So the bad debt, you don't need to run out, like we said, and get a fancy office, get a fancy desk. I worked off a cardboard box when I started here. You do what it takes. Now, good debt is that it does take money to grow a business. And so good debt, it is an investment in a business coach. It is investment in the solid technological things that you need to run your business. Good debt is getting a virtual assistant for 5 hours a month. Then bad debt, like I see a lot of startups, as we go back to our discussion about free information here and free resources there, they're running around signing up for a lot of things as well, because everybody does an upsell and does a pitch. And I've got to rein my clients in and keep telling them, no, don't sign up for that. That's not in alignment with your goals. Like, what are you doing? It's all emotionally based. And so learn your numbers, get that bookkeeper, recognize the difference between good debt and bad debt. Listen, my credit cards, I had 2 credit cards, and I just took them to the limit because no bank would talk to me, and I needed to get things rolling. And so I made the commitment, as the credit card amount went up, I got off my butt and went out and sold. I made sure that I was active in sales and getting business so that I was not sitting in credit card debt.
That's amazing, thank you. We do have one more question. How do you know how much money you need? So I guess
to both of you?
Yeah, I guess to both of you.
I don't know.
You need the fundamentals. Listen, you're not going to succeed at growing a business if you don't have a roof over your head, if you don't have the family support, if you can't feed yourself. I lived on ramen noodles and Kraft dinner again. It was like I was back in college. And so, again, I got a financial planner right away. One of the women I met here, I was speaking at a women's conference, and I said to them, this was way back in the beginning, and I took a commercial break, which I never do in a keynote, but I did this time because I was hungry. And I said, I'm going to do a commercial break. There's 500 of you in the room. Before I leave here today, I just moved to London. I need the names of good hairdresser, doctor, bank, realtor, the whole bit. And so one woman came up to me and she said, my friend is the best financial advisor you'll ever have in London. And I said, well, I don't really need one of them right now because I have no money. And she said, no, this is when you need one of them. And so I met with that financial advisor, best thing I ever did. She taught me some key things, how I thought about money. Use money as a tool. It's just part of your toolkit. It's not reflective of who I am. It's reflective of what I do. So surround yourself again, as Chad and I have been saying, with the right, get a financial board of directors, and they will help you and guide you on how much you need. And then listen to them and do the work.
That's great. What about you, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, I first answered the question saying I don't know, because there are every circumstance is different. How much money do you need? You know, it's like how much is a house or how much is a car? It really depends. I mean, if you're starting an app company, you know, maybe all you need is software costs, you know, and it's too broad a question. How much do I need? But if you do surround yourself with the good advisors, they're going to help you figure that out, and it's probably going to change as you get deeper into it. You're going to understand that you may need more or less, but the only way you're going to know, I mean, you're asking us the question, but without being that person's mentor or advisor, we don't know. But if they can find someone who can, they can throw out their idea, and then they're gonna know. So I would just say I don't know.
That's great. Now I think we're nearing the end of the Q&A. So before we finish our discussion about bootstrapping, I just wanted to hand it over to our guests to say anything that they want to leave our audience with. What are the key takeaways that you want people to remember from this conversation?
Go ahead, Pat.
Okay, I always have something to say. Thanks, Chad. I do. Listen, I take it down to the fundamentals, and the way I coach my clients is always focus on three things. Anybody can focus on three things. Create a plan for 3 months. Anybody can do something for 3 months. And so, aside from those two great tips, get a coach. Every entrepreneur, every business owner needs a coach. Olympians have a coach. I mean, sportsmen have a coach. Business owners need a coach. And so do your homework and get a coach. Then create a plan. Most entrepreneurs fail because they don't have a plan. So create a plan and then work the plan. It doesn't mean it's carved in stone, but you need a plan, you need accountability, you need to take action and have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, I would just repeat, don't do it alone. Find that community of care. If you can find a co-working space, do it. Tap into the resources that are in your community, the municipality, the college, the universities. Just a huge shout out to Startup Canada and just their philosophy and values and grassroots approach. It really ties closely to how we operate here in Barrie in our creative spaces. And we need those resources. We need the connections on the ground level here. We need them all the way up to, the hill. And I think any entrepreneur in Canada now really has no excuse to find out if they're going to succeed or not. The resources are there, and whether you're in a local town or community, if you can connect with those resources, I think you're going to do well. And just a shout out to Startup Canada and what they've done across our nation.
Yeah, I second that. I mean, what you guys are doing as an organization is a huge support and much needed in the world of startups, because again, it's hard, it's lonely, but it's so worthwhile too.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you both. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Pat. You've been amazing guests and really giving some good food for thought for the people who are watching today. Next Thursday, March 9th, we're also going to be talking about money, with a little bit of a different spin. We're talking about lender luck, landing loans and leveraging credit. And our hosts are going to be Paul Stevenson and Tuan Nguyen. And the guest experts are really amazing. So Kay Alexander Ash and Lana Tayara. And please register for this event at startupcan.ca/events. Again, that's startupcan.ca/events.
Yeah, thank you, Chad and Pat. And to stay informed with all the events and opportunities and all the other announcements that's happening, follow Startup Canada on Twitter, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram as well. And you can be tuned into #podcast, Startup Podcast every Tuesday on iTunes as well. And you can join us every Thursday on Startup Live, on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and as well as Periscope. To everyone who's watching us today and listening, thank you so much and have a good day.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.